Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from cowtogirl, who says, I, 25 female, discovered my boyfriend, 28 male, of 3 years is cheating. Tonight is the biggest night of his life. Help me. I won't go into all the gory details of our relationship. We were in love and, well, I still love him. But I found out, clearly, he does not. I discovered proof that he has been cheating on me for a while, in the form of small home movies of them. I don't know the girl, and from the looks of their conversations, yep, went ahead and post-discovery snooped. She has no idea I exist. Tonight is the biggest night of my boyfriend's life. He's receiving a state award at a big dinner with a few hundred people attending, from his mum and dad to councilmen and all of that. In fact, the only reason I discovered this transgression is because I've been putting together a little video for him to enjoy of some of the key moments of his life. You know, typical sappy shit. I'm burdened with a lot of power right now, and I don't know if I have it in me to do the right thing, or if I even know the right thing. I'm blinded with tears of rage and sadness and betrayal. But at the same time, I love him, have loved him, and do I really want to do this? The relationship is over, no doubt about it. I'm not a woman who will take her man cheating on her. Certainly not. That's not the issue. The issue is, there are cutesy selfies of the two of them. A lot of them, only shared between the two of them. Nothing lewd. There's plenty of that on camera though. Do I sneak one in the snap reel as a way of letting them know that I know? Or do I simply confront him after his moment in the sun passes? I'm not going to pick up everything and leave without cutting contact. That's not my style, and it wouldn't make me feel good. Just very sad. So I do the bitchy thing for once in my life. To anyone looking at the snap reel, it would just look like a picture of him and a friend. But to him, and to me, it'd be a private message, an outing. Help me Reddit. I don't know what to do this time. One of the top commenters on this said, nah, you know what? If there's really nothing anyone would pick up on other than the two of you, you slip that photo into the slideshow. Make eye contact with him when the photo appears on screen. Then when it's over, you stand up and walk out. It ain't the high road, but nobody needs to walk the high road all the time. Opie says, I chuckled. I think the only reason I would do this is to make eye contact with him, so that he knows I know. But I'm not sure I have the guts to do that. I'm not exactly Olivia Pope. And for me, in some ways, I think you need to do what's good for you. Like, this isn't you outing him in the most horrific way possible. Like you said, only you and him are going to know. And in the end, he's the one who ruined it, not you. He was the one taking these photos, making the videos, carrying on a whole relationship behind your back, while you were putting together a tribute to celebrate his achievements. The fact that you discovered this, his betrayal, or trying to do something that's sweet for him, is particularly cruel. I think the only worry for me in these kinds of situations is like, you know, of course, this might feel satisfying in the moment to expose him like this, but it might also give him that ammunition to, you know, twist things around and call you the crazy ex for doing something like that. But in the end, I think you need to handle this on your terms. I don't think if you put the photo in, I don't think it's a particularly bad thing. And also if you took the air quotes high road, you know, it's just totally up to you in this situation. He's the one that's caused this. But Vengeance Pigeon says, honestly, if you really want to shit on his night, I tell him you know 5 minutes before he leaves that you won't be attending, and that you and your stuff will be gone when he gets back. He still has to dwell on this in the middle of his celebration, but he's denied the consolation of people who will see you using this moment for personal attention. He's denied any option of making this breakup look even a little like your fault. He's going to have to lie to people all night about where you are, knowing you're packing up at that very moment. As far as the video, I just wouldn't send anything to the hosts. They'll find some other way to fill the time. Black Otter says you could not make the video at all and use the time he's at the banquet to move out, if you both live together. If you add a picture of the two of them on, he will know what it's about. It won't ruin his night or how anyone else views him. Just throw it in there with a bunch of other smiling pictures of him hanging out with other people. No one else will be the wiser. Opie says in the video there are several photos that fit right alongside them, honestly. I'm just unsure if I have the capacity to pull it off. My other thought is, what if she is there? I hold no hatred or anything towards her. And she doesn't even know I exist most likely. But how awkward would it be for her? I think those are the main things holding me back. And one more comment which says, as incredibly tempting as that idea is, I don't think it would please you. His response is not likely to be what you want, unless what you want is anger. And if it is, well, be better than that. If I were you, I'd not finish the reel, and I'd definitely contact the other girl, who is getting played here just like you are, and warn her. Really close to when you ditch the bum. Probably send her an email somewhere around 2 minutes beforehand, so that he doesn't have time to get an accusing phone call, nor make a frantic one. With a handful of proof, so she doesn't have to wonder if you're some jealous psycho. There's a fair chance that the cheating bastard has already covered his bases there. So you need recent proof. Or, another idea just popped into my head. Maybe make the whole presentation out of the old Microsoft Word art. I'll put a picture on the screen. I'm not sure how to explain these fonts, but you know, they're old school. That's all I can say. Maybe with a CBAT music background or something along those lines. Why does your head go to these places, Mark? But anyway, OP comes in with our update nearly 2 months later, and it says, well, it's been a month and a half since this all went down. I've gotten so many requests for an update, and I never intended to give one honestly, because I was afraid of the fallout depending on what I ended up doing. So what did I do? I did the immature, vengeful thing, and I don't regret it. I took a few photos of the two of them, tasteful photos that gave off no indication other than she might be a childhood friend. I slipped them into the snap reel and I spoke kindly of him at the podium. Then after my turn was finished, I walked out. I drove home feeling calm and in control. 20 minutes later, the text started. Where did I go? What did I know? Where did I find the photos? Was there more in store for him? I text him. I know you've been fucking her, but there are no more photos. There weren't any, and of course I left it at that. Missed opportunity there. He didn't come home that night, or the next. The next day, he called me to ask me if we could meet and talk at a public location. I agreed to meet him at Starbucks. I arrived early, waited for him, and he showed up a few minutes late and took the seat across from me. He started right off with the excuses, how it just happened and he regrets it fully. She doesn't mean anything to him, and that she looks like a girl he had a crush on in high school, and he was powerless against his teenage self. I didn't interrupt him, just let him have his time. When he was done and looking at me for a sign of what might happen next, all I could say was, "So, where did you stay the past few nights?" He said, "Her house." I said, "And what did you do?" He wouldn't answer. Hadn't been any doubt in my mind, really. I knew I was leaving him. He talked over himself, apologizing, begging for forgiveness, saying he'd change. I told him that I didn't want him to have to change himself, and if who he was, naturally, was someone who cheated on his girlfriend, then that's not someone I wanted to be with. He said that he was thinking of proposing to me, and all I could say after that was, good thing I found out before. Fast forward to a few weeks later. He's moved out and I'm doing well. We have cut off contact. People ask me about him all the time and I just let them know. He left me for a girl who looked like his high school crush. So that's the end. We're broken up. We are never, ever, ever getting back together. Nearly broke out into song there. I don't feel any regret for how I handled it. Like one commenter said, there's no need to take the high road all the time. Was he really expecting Opie to turn around and suddenly change her mind when he said that I was thinking of proposing? Like she's suddenly going to go, oh, my dream man. And in the middle there where I said there was a missed opportunity, I was thinking the way it said, where did I go? What did I know? Where did I find the photos? And was there more in store for him? It's easy for me to say behind the microphone, but my petty side was thinking I would have just rubbed my chin and went, I don't know. Is there? Keep him on the edge. But that was the only update on there, and I was sort of left wondering if the other woman found out about it as well. But what do you guys make of this situation? If you was left with that choice at the very start about adding that photo in the presentation or not, what would you do? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Petty Revenge subreddit from QueerDo84, who says, quit my job at an upscale steakhouse, but not before making sure all the customers knew what a prick the owner was. This happened back in 2009. but I shared it in a comment on another sub yesterday and figured it belonged here too. I was waiting tables at an upscale steakhouse, and the company culture was absolute garbage. The owner, Gary, was constantly throwing tantrums and screaming at everyone, and we all hated him. He'd line us all up before every shift just to berate us and yell how lucky we were that he had hired us, because we were all shit at our jobs and no one else would ever have us. Stuff like that. The only reason anyone ever stuck around was because the money was good due to the high ticket prices and solid customer base, as well as the fact that there weren't many other employment options for fine dining service in the area. In addition to being a massive prick, Gary was also a cheap bastard. There was a 6-foot-tall dessert cooler in the kitchen that had a broken door, and he put off fixing it for months because he didn't want to spend the money. So it was just sorta hanging on its hinge and you had to be really careful opening it. Inevitably, during the height of a Saturday night rush, it fell completely off and hit one of the servers hard. So she's laying there on the kitchen floor, bleeding from a serious looking wound on her head, and Gary is standing over her and screaming down at her. Way to go, just brilliant. What the fuck am I supposed to do now? It's the middle of the rush, you've got a full section and no one's going to be able to pick up your goddamn tables because everyone who works here is useless and incompetent. You should have been more careful. I'd seen a lot of his shit, but this was the hard line, and I made a decision right then that I was out. So when I got home that night, I typed up a letter to Gary, telling him exactly why I was quitting and leaving no detail out when it came to his tantrums, his verbal abuse, and the hazards in the workplace that he wouldn't address. I printed out 30 copies, went in early for my opening shift the following day. Mid-afternoon, the place was only open for dinner, and hid them all over the restaurant where guests would find them. In the menus, under the napkins, on the tables, in between paper towels in the restroom, etc. Some were in really obscure places, so that they wouldn't be found right away, and would keep popping up randomly. Surprise! Allowing my legacy to live on. Then, instead of working my shift, I left before the pre-shift lineup. Fast forward to a couple of days later, when a coworker reached out and shared with me the beautiful details of Gary's head almost exploding with rage when he found out about the letters. A couple of tables read them and walked out before ordering. People in the dining room could hear him screaming from the kitchen. Apparently, they were still finding letters weeks later, and every time one surfaced, the vein in Gary's forehead would pop out and he'd disappear into his office and slam the door. It remains one of my proudest moments, and my only regret is that I couldn't be a fly on the wall watching this all unfold. So the top comment on this one was asking questions. As Horror Gary says, wow, so many questions. Is the place still open? How did this affect your co-workers? Did she sue for damages after being hit by the door? Has the owner been reported to the Labor Board, OSHA, OSHA, the health and safety people, the health department at all, etc.? Opie says yes, it's still open, but it appears to be under new ownership. I didn't have much of a relationship with my co-workers yet, as I'd only worked there maybe 2 months before all this went down, so I never received a whole lot of follow-up. I didn't honestly know how my co-workers were impacted, though I did urge them to leave in the letter, knowing they'd all likely see it at some point. I sure as hell hoped she'd sue, and won big. Maybe Gary lost the restaurant in the suit and she now owns it. I didn't personally report him because I was living with my ex at the time, who had a warrant out for his arrest, and was also an abusive arsehole. He didn't want me talking to any kind of official agency for fear law enforcement would track him down. Hope someone reported him though. And Yikes replied to that saying that last part really came out of left field. Hope you're well now. Obi says thanks. I'm happy to report I left my abuser in 2013 and have improved my life tremendously since then. My cat sits like people. Great name says. A friend of mine got injured at his serving job and it was the restaurant's fault. It ended up going to court and he got awarded $10,000. When the opposing lawyer was a dick and said, minus the $350 he's already claimed from the workman's comp, right? The judge stared him down and said, he's now awarded $10,350, minus the $350 he's received from workman's comp. The lawyer wisely shut up after that. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll grab one more story from the Petty Revenge subreddit. Before we do talk about this, you know, there's a fair amount of talk about poo. So if you do want to skip the story, feel free to do so. Timestamps are down in the description and along timeline below. Thank you. This one's from PrestigiousCoffee, who says, wife thinks I'm taking longer than I need in the bathroom, so I make sure she knows it's legit. My wife and I bought our first house shortly after our wedding. Everything went smoothly and we enjoyed our time as newlyweds. Of course, as the honeymoon phase began to fade, some minor issues started to emerge. For her, the first one was the typical guy on the toilet problem. So, sometimes I spend quite a bit of time on the toilet. It's all legit though. I'm not just scrolling on my phone. I mean, I also do that, but I'm also doing what I'm supposed to be doing as well. Anyways, my wife started to pick up on how long I was spending in the bathroom and commenting on it. This was exasperated with some unlucky incidences of her asking when I was coming out, just as I was standing up and about to flush the toilet. So it seemed like I was just standing there until she said something and flush into fake like I just finished. For context, I eat a lot. I usually eat about 3,000 calories a day, give or take a few hundred. And I'm a thin frame guy, 160 pounds, 72 kilos, give or take, and about 6'5". Back then, I was getting used to the bowel movements associated with eating that much, and they tended to come at random times in varying amounts. My wife, though, didn't believe me. Her diet was much less structured than mine, and she had no notion of what was going on in that room for so long. This culminated in a few arguments with her accusing me of wasting time in the bathroom on my phone, and myself insisting that I was indeed pooping. They were mostly joke arguments, but I really wasn't wasting time and was actually a little offended that she wouldn't believe me. So I decided I would get a little revenge and clear my name in the process. So the next time I was in the bathroom and my wife was in earshot, I began loudly announcing the following at appropriate intervals. Poop is currently exiting my butthole. Shortly followed by, poop has finished exiting my butthole. I would do this 2 or 3 times, however long I was in the bathroom, during which I would be met with laughter or groaning from the other room, depending on how many times I'd made the announcement that session. After a few days of this, she would get grossed out and say, okay, I get it, and I would stop. Since then, I've developed a much more predictable poop schedule, but I no longer get questioned as to the goings on in the bathroom behind closed doors. Galaxy 3 says, I just read multiple paragraphs about a guy shitting. I really need a life. Could be worse, Galaxy. You could be making a video about it. I'm always amused at the anger at these type of posts though. There's a lot of joking about it as well. People saying, yeah, they take a long time. Other people saying they're messing about in the toilet. Many comments just saying the guy probably just needs more fiber in his diet. But other people completely breaking down the relationship between these two people, saying, oh, you know, she's probably just fed up because you're hiding in there all the time, an excuse for washing the dishes. But I think I'd be bothered if someone was coming up to me and telling me about how long I'm going to the toilet for. You know, out of concern is one thing, but if it was constant comments about the time that you're taking, you know, I know my bowels. I know if there's an issue or not. I know if I need to go to the doctor. Someone commenting on it would put me right on edge and probably make the situation worse. I was going to say make me feel like shit, but that's easy pickings, right? But anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down. Actually, just let's not talk about shite in the comments. But anyway, thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows.